Hey, everyone. Welcome to Facebook Live with Teresa and Lindsay here at the Real Life
Hey, everybody.
Process. Okay, so, oh my gosh, we're in all the places. We're trying
We're
something new.
everywhere.
We're everywhere. That's what Lindsay just said. We have a software that we use that I absolutely love. Um, and it's called Ecamm. It only works with Mac products. But they came out with a new download that we can actually, if everything is working, which I think it is, we are actually on Facebook. So I'm checking that one. We're on Facebook. Oh, yes, there we are. We're on LinkedIn and we're on YouTube kind of all at the same time, which just blows my brain. But we are. So, one thing, and we get to go all out in all the places, which actually leads to the conversation that we're going to have today. Uh, Lindsay
Yes,
and
it
I
does.
are always a little bit like, what do you want to talk about today? And we like to keep it current and kind of in where we're at in our lives. And this actually goes a little bit along with the podcast episode that we dropped today with one of our facilitators, Angela Gage. And it's this idea of how do you love connecting? And just really this self awareness piece of how do you like to connect? Do you love this virtual type world that we can create where we can be in all the places, right? Or do you love one to one, face to face, cross the table? Or do you love the old fashioned telephone that probably some of you forget that we even have? um, I used to have one that, was hanging on the wall with cord. So, Lindsay, how about you? What do you love?
Well, I can tell you the one I love the least is the telephone right away. That's my least favorite way to
It's
connect is
hilarious.
talking on the telephone. I do love, like, even now, if we were having this conversation on phone, I love being able to see face to face because I can see your facial expression. I can see if you're about to talk or not. Whereas phone, I feel like I end up talking over someone a bunch. So I think there's a lot of benefit to the online space, but then also the in person. I don't know. For me, I need both, and I think there's pros and cons to both, and I know we'll talk about that more. But it's interesting to know that there's options out there and to say, okay, what am I looking for in a connection with somebody, and what is the best environment or context for that to happen? Because it's not always immediately obvious until I stop to think about it.
Wow, there is so much there. So, Lindsay and I, as probably all of you that are watching the live know, work together on the same team here at the
Mm-hmm.
process. And just hearing her say, I don't love to talk on the phone is so interesting to me because I love to talk on the phone. I grew up talking on the phone. And one of the things that I love about it is that I can walk around and do something else. So I grew up back in the day when you got the longest telephone cord possible so that you could, usually be in your kitchen, walking around, talking to my girlfriends back in the day. And then I remember for my 16th birthday, I got a phone in my room. That was like the end all. And I remember when cordless phones came out and you really felt like you had freedom. You could go outside and talk on your phone if you could stay connected. So I think I can multitask. So that shows a lot about my personality while I'm on a phone. And yet you said, I can't see people and I don't know if I'm talking over them. Because one of your gifts and skills is you're such a great listener. And so that was interesting to me how much your body, right? And we love the tool, the Enneagram. You sit in the body space. Yeah, that's just interesting to me how that plays
Mm-hmm.
out for you. So, um, so one of the ways, right, with technology here recently, and we'd love to hear from you in the chat. Like, what's your favorite way? How do you love to connect? I can't say that word. Um, we know, in the last few years, this kind of connection, FaceTime, Zoom, um, Google Chat, like all the ways that you can actually see someone's body. How do you love that connection, Linz?
I really enjoy that a lot because it feels closer to in person, face to face. It's not the same as in person, but it feels closer to it. I've got, my family is back in Virginia. And so I feel like for me, that's a great way, and we talk on the phone. I think the only person I actually talk to on the phone a lot is my mom. So that's like the only person that I'm like, we can talk on the phone and that's fine. But for the kids to be able to see their grandparents on a screen,
Hmm.
it makes it feel more in person. And I feel that way even if I'm, coaching with somebody or whatever that is, to be able to see them on a screen, it's closer to in person and face to face, because I feel like in person would be my preferred way to connect with somebody, but it's just that step closer that makes me feel more connected to all of them. Like you said, that body space where you see their face and you read their body language, and you notice all the other things going on that you don't necessarily hear in their words.
Yeah, I know for so many families having the virtual connection. I know that that is so important to just, yeah, be able to see kids and grandkids and,
Mhm,
other people and whatever. It's so funny when I travel and my husband Dale isn't going with me. Like we always just talk on the phone, and I forget that I could like actually like get on FaceTime and see him. And sometimes I'll surprise him and I'll be like, oh,
mhm,
like I didn't expect you to call me on FaceTime or whatever. Cause it's just kind of how you grew up in the generation, really, that you grew up in as to how you engage with some of these things. Um, and we do, we
mhm,
have coaching clients that we work with all across the country. We love the tool of, Zoom platform. We also use another platform called Circle where we can connect and see one another. But one thing I discovered and I've shared with you personally and just with our team is I really do enjoy working with someone in at least that I can see them on a regular basis. So, and that's
mhm,
not wrong. Like I could shame myself about that, right? That like when I'm looking for people on our team, or it's part of how I'm wired. And I notice that about myself, that I hate to say this, but I'm just going to say out of sight, out of mind, so to speak. And
mhm,
I'm a forward moving type on the Enneagram. I'm a quick start on the Colby. Like I know enough about my personality that I can guard against that, and I can say, whoa, wait a second. You've got to be purposeful to reach out. You've got to be purposeful. So if my mother is watching, I owe my mother a phone call. Like I've been home from Florida since Sunday and we have text, but I haven't talked to her. And again, it's that out of sight, out of mind. And the days goes by. And then I'm like, oh, it's too late in the
mhm,
day. And I see you quite a bit because we live in the same town. But people that aren't kind of in my day to day life and rhythm, gosh, I just have such an awareness about how can I use technology better, um, to live into rhythms and routines of purposeful time. So it's one of the reasons I use, this leads me to thinking
yeah,
about, it's one of the reasons I have to put people blocks on my calendar. So I need a people block right now for my mom. She'll
mhm,
probably comment about this because
mhm,
she'll watch and she'll be like, you're right. You do owe me a phone call. Like, so, that's the purpose of saying who in my life matters and how do I want to connect with them.
mhm.
So I don't know. That's just an
Yeah,
awareness I'm
and I
having
relate to
as
that
we
a lot
speak.
too. Yeah, I'd say I'm similar with and I apologize if anyone's noticing. I'm noticing a delay between us, so if anyone else is noticing that, yeah, we'll do our best not to talk over each other.
Gotta
Um,
love
yeah, I don't
technology.
know what that is, but I know. Um, so I've noticed that about myself too, of the out of sight, out of mind. I think I'm somewhat similar too, where it's the people in my everyday life that I see on a regular basis that are, because they're there and I see them. And like you said, I have to be more intentional with those that I don't see every day. I'll even set a reminder on my phone, like if I'll be texting with my mom because she's the one I talk to on the phone, and I'll have to, if it's like I can't talk today, but I can talk tomorrow, I will set a reminder on my phone so I remember to call her. And it's not that I'm not, it's, you kind of feel guilty of like, I should remember to call my mom, but life happens and we get caught up in things and work and family and all that. And so it's great that there's tools that are out there that can help us be more intentional with connecting with people.
Yeah, that's funny you say that because I actually set a reminder last night at 10 o'clock. And just said, "Hey Siri," and set the reminder to text somebody this morning, actually to Voxer them this morning. That's another tool that we love within our team, and
Hmm.
my husband and I use it. Is a tool called Voxer, which is just a fancy walkie-talkie app, really. Um, but it lets me hear somebody's voice. It lets me stay connected. And so last night I set a reminder, and yeah, we could carry a lot of shame about that, right? Like if I really cared, I would just naturally know. But life happens and we get busy.
Yeah.
And then when we do think about it, we're like, well, they probably aren't available right now, or now's not a good time. It's, dinner, I'm cooking dinner, and now's not a good time. Don't want to interrupt. So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If somebody really matters, set the
Yeah.
reminder, to connect with
Hmm.
them so you don't lose that. And then, yeah, just how is the way that you like to connect? So when
Yeah.
I told you about the topic, the podcast that actually came out today on the Real Life Process podcast is about one of our facilitators who, in her journey in her business, kind of had to figure that out, right? Like, I'm
Hmm.
trying to build something online, and then I realized that I love being in person with people. And she had that experience after she even came to the co-working space that I work out of. And I work out of a co-working space because I like the connection to people. Um, and then how she decided she wanted to create that in her local community. So it's a great podcast episode just about that, finding how you connect. Um,
Yeah. And I think too that the benefit of connecting online is that I feel like because you're kind of pulling from a wider pool of people, that it can be easier in some ways. I mean, there's challenges too, but there's more people out there that you can connect on something that's like really like niche or specific on your interests or your passions and that sort of thing. And so it's cool to, for example, I love reading, and there's some people in my everyday life that read that I talk about books with, but not that many that maybe read the same books I do. And so I can find people online that have really specific interests
I
similar to
love
mine,
that.
and can find that connection there online. But then there's things that I can't get online that I can only get in person. And so I think it's just recognizing like, what are you looking for in a connection? What's the purpose of it? And where's the best place? I think of like even our facilitators, it's so cool to see that, we all have similar values and do similar work. And so we connect online, and it's easy to connect right away because we have that similarity.
Hmm.
But then when we see each other in person, how that takes it to a whole other level. Like when we have our gathering twice a year, and we've already established that connection online, but then when we see each other in person, it's amazing how that just takes it that much deeper. So I feel like that's such a good example of how both are needed and can serve
Mm.
different purposes.
Yeah, you hit it just right. I mean, it's so true. Now, I do want to say when Lindsay says she loves to read, like she loves to read, like loves to read. I don't even try to talk to her about movies or TV or anything like that, because she's always got, if there's a possibility, she's going to be reading. So, which yeah,
I do watch TV and I do watch movies, but most of the time I'd choose a book over that.
she does. And I love that though, that you brought that up of like, and we know that loneliness can be a thing. It's a thing that we can all struggle with. But, you know, I guess kind of the action or takeaway I would say from our conversation too is find those people. Like, yeah, we have our families and we
Mhm.
have our friends, and, we fall into routines and patterns. But, the encouragement I would have for today is like, yeah, there are people out there that if you have an interest, if you have a desire to learn about something or to go deeper on a topic, like it's out there and you can
Yeah.
connect with people around that topic. I know you're in some writers and, book type groups and things like that. I mean, I love
Hmm.
technology, weird things like this eCam stuff. And so you can connect around your interests and your desires and your learning spiritually, emotionally, hobbies, all of those types of things. So we just thought it'd be fun. We'd love to hear from you. We always do in the chat to say, how do you like to connect? You know, it has a whole different meaning now to say, do you want to have a cup of coffee? Because that could mean virtually, and that could mean in
Hmm.
person, right? Or
Yep.
you want to have lunch together, or whatever. Like you can do all those things in all the places. So we love to connect with you. It's one of the reasons why we do these. Sorry if my internet is dragging today, which it may have been. Technology is not always our friend, but hopefully it's not too bad. And you've been able to connect with us today. We try to hop on every Wednesday just to have a brief conversation in community with you and hear back from you. And we're trying all the platforms today. So if you're listening on LinkedIn or on YouTube, welcome to, we've called it Facebook Live, but I think we really call it Real Life Live or something like that because, yeah, we're not just on Facebook.
Hmm.
So Linz, thanks for joining me,
Yep.
friend. Always appreciate it. Always love your perspective.
Thanks, Teresa. Good to
Talk
be
to you
with you guys.
soon. Yeah. Talk to you soon. Have a
See
great
ya.
week.